There we go.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We live. Hey. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Conversations Under the Hood. I'm your host, Robert Helm. And tonight we have all of our wonderful co-hosts here. Dr. Lindy Wade Helm, Mr. Jojo George Sanchez, and Compass Ion, aka Robert Green. Tonight we're looking at having a really interactive show. We're hoping that anyone out there that's watching tonight, as we are here live, if you have any questions or comments, concerns even, feel free to share those, and matter of fact, for y'all that have your phones, if y'all want to share it, guys, we can go live here and just do that here in the preliminary while we are. What's that?
I left my glasses at home.
Oh no!
Oh boy,
You left your eyeball.
Mr. Green is blind.
Green beans can't see.
Oh man, hey, you would think all that green you could see something, right?
Right.
Mr. Green is
Yeah.
blind.
But I'm really excited to be here this evening, and again, I thank each and every one of our viewers, as well as each one of you, for making an effort to be here, so that we can have a great show again. If you haven't had a chance to check us out on YouTube, we are Conversations Under the Hood on YouTube as well, and we have right now 2 episodes currently up there, and this is our 3rd episode. So what we've been doing is reflecting at the beginning of the show on our previous conversation that we had the previous week, and so let's kind of open up with that. Is there anything that that either of you would like to kind of talk about that we discussed last weekend? Maybe something that you experienced during your work week or what have you that was related to one of the things that we talked about? And if y'all don't remember, if I need to refresh our memories about some of the things.
We talked about the guiding principles.
That's right.
And we started with the guiding principles or core values.
Yep, core values. We talked about core values.
Yeah.
And all right, so let's just kind of start off right there. I think we came up with 5 core values last week, right?
More than 5. But
More
yeah.
than 5. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's start right there then. Let's start with a couple of core values, and maybe if you had an opportunity to work during this week, did any one of those core values seem to resonate with the work that you were doing? Did you kind of see how those core values were relevant to your day-to-day life?
Oh, absolutely. Integrity being one of them. Me being in a position of leadership in my university, I'm constantly challenged by making sure that no matter what, I do the right thing.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
let the chips fall where they fall at. But doing the right thing at every opportunity, even when it doesn't benefit you,
Mm-hmm.
even if it leaves you in the, not so much of a great spot, doing the right at the end of the day, when you do the right thing, things just seem to work out. And it has a more lasting impact,
Mm-hmm.
so that's one thing that I've experienced throughout the week.
Oh, awesome. What about you, Jojo? Any of the core values that we discussed, you feel like were
Right.
relevant? Oh yeah, I know, right. We're gonna have to put it in braille. Any of the core values resonate with
All right.
the things that you've done during the week? You feel like
I'm just glad that we're able to talk about all this and be able to share it and the feedback that we're getting. Cause I'm getting approached by other people and all that, so that's one thing that I'm happy about this
Mm-hmm.
that we're doing. But I think the situation of what we did last time, we deal with it every day.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Going back to integrity, I just throughout normal day-to-day work and through life in general,
Mm-hmm.
that integrity piece makes you do things the right way,
Right. Right.
even if nobody's looking.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you
Even when
practice that,
nobody's looking. That's
Right.
when you're
right.
practicing that, it makes you proud of yourself to see you can do that and accomplish that the right way to appease somebody else as well. You know what I mean? So when you take that little extra time to put in that integrity
Right.
and that thought process, have that with you the whole time, it shows in your work,
Right.
and it makes it easier if you practice that. So that's just one thing I've learned through the weekend.
Yeah, hey, well, those I think are excellent, man. And you know, for myself, you know, we had the opportunity to do some work together. Actually, both you and,
Hey,
and
man.
JoJo and I, as well as you, anyway, we
Yeah.
all had a chance to interact throughout this week. And I agree, integrity definitely I think is one of those pinnacle core values that you're right. It leads you to looking at things very differently. And for me, you know, when I think about you know the types of work that we do, you know, construction along with you know retail, etc.
Customer service.
Yeah, all of those things. I would have to say that. Let me see what we had. Can I see the list here?
Yes, sir.
All right, because I know we listed off a few of them. So let's see. We had love, loyalty, innovation, respect, responsibility, accountability, trustworthy, and knowledge. All right. So I'm gonna go with. I think. Well, I'm between responsibility and accountability, right? Because you know, being a business owner and having people that you work with, you know, there's a certain level of accountability, right? That's associated with that. Because if you have expectations from people, then you have to also kind of demonstrate what it is you're asking for, right? And then being responsible to make sure that you get the things done that you set out to do, right? You know, so I think those two for me are ones that I can kind of resonate, right? When we look at, you know, just some of the things that you and I did, you know, here's a perfect example of responsibility. Going shopping, right? My wife and I, we like to go, you know, do a little garage selling or, you know, shopping at the Habitat or, you know, just different places like that to see what options and things that, you know, we can do to kind of enhance, you know, our home or our life. And, you know, I tend to, funny enough, I'm a practical shopper, right? Like, I'm not the guy who goes into a store and would try something on, but I would go into the store and buy something that I should probably try on, but I'm like, I feel like I know what I want and I know the size, and so I just, right? But I don't do that often because I don't really shop often. And my point there, anyway, is that when we went shopping this past weekend, you know, I had an opportunity to buy things that would have probably not been real useful, right? They might have been practical in some way or another, but not real useful. But instead of doing that, what I opted to do was I saw some tools. And the first thing that popped into my mind was, man, that right there, I could use that to make some money. You know, so I figured if I'm going to spend some money, why not buy something that I could make some money, you know? And so I felt, you know, responsible. I felt like that was a responsible choice, if that makes sense. So that was kind of where I was going with it is, you know, sometimes, you know, just the decisions that we make.
It's like you're thinking it makes money and makes sense.
Right,
There you
right.
Return on investment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because as we were shopping, one of the things that I've learned, you know, as I was observing how we both shop together, decisiveness. It's something that sometimes you just have to make a decision, of course, along with that return on investment. So you see these big tools. One of them was a tile cutter, and it had all these features that he wants. And another one, and he's like, nah, you know what, I'll come back for it. And do you realize this is Habitat for Humanity? The next person who's walking in here, they're walking
It's
out with
gonna
that
take
tool.
it.
And I'm on my phone looking at, oh, this tool costs brand new, costs $400, and you're getting it for $140. You know, so
Bargain.
right, unless you want to go pay $400 for a new shiny tool versus the one that's used here.
Yeah.
So you know, but
Make the money with
Shopping
that
smart.
one to go buy that.
Shopping
shiny
smart.
so there I was with my card. I'm like, going once, going twice. You better make your mind right now. Because I'm not paying, you know, too many
Okay, so she
times.
puts
Yeah.
money on.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I just want my house back.
That guy loves
Okay.
tools
there you go.
anyway. That guy loves tools
You
anyways.
got it, man.
She said, "You got everything you need, no excuses."
There you
No
go.
excuses. Now you can get it
Loves
done.
tools.
That's it,
Yeah.
man. No.
But that speaks to a bigger point, right? Investing on things that add value and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
that have return on
It's gotta
investment.
make sense.
Yeah, because if we're gonna be responsible and holding ourselves accountable in terms of like our financial intelligence, we have to really pay close attention at the things that we're spending money on. You know.
I agree.
Right.
Totally agree about that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Can't hear you that well. Okay. So let's see here. What do we got going on?
Volume.
Right. Hopefully.
Can you hear me now?
No. Let's
Microphone
see.
check.
Hey, yeah.
Microphone
turn
check,
make
1
sure
2
to
1
turn
2.
the volume up there on the front of
Is
that
it-
microphone. There's a volume adjustment there.
Microphone check.
Okay. How about that? Can you hear me now?
Can we get some feedback?
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
able to?
Give us a 1 if you could hear us.
How about that?
Yeah, thumbs up if you can hear us.
Got it.
Microphone check, 1 2 1 2. Compass Island in the booth. I'm gonna do what I do.
Yeah.
Mic check,
Uh-oh.
1.
Yeah, there we go.
No.
Yeah, we got
Don't
it.
get him
Let's see.
started. Don't get him
Oh,
started.
yeah.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't
we
get
have
him
thumbs
started,
up?
guys. Don't get him started. He won't stop. He
Yeah.
won't stop.
Hey, yeah, if we can get a thumbs up on that, that would be great.
Mic check.
Let's see, that is disconnected. The microphone, everything should be hopefully good.
We got 2 thumbs up, right?
Okay.
Yeah, 2 reactions. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Muy bueno.
Very good.
Okay.
Alright.
Well, let's stay on track here. You know, I got so caught up in the conversation, I actually forgot about the comments there, man. So that's something that I do need to make sure that I monitor. So let's see. That was Denise that said she couldn't hear. Denise, can you hear better now? Can you hear us better? Let's see. She said it's a party in here. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So does that mean you can hear us better now? Can you give us a
That's a
thumbs
thumbs
up?
up right
A
there.
smiley face?
She gave us thumbs up.
No, that was me. I think I gave her a thumbs up.
Oh.
Yeah.
You give yourself a thumbs up.
No, I gave her a thumbs up. Yeah. Well, so listen. Hopefully, yeah. Denise, can you let us know if you can hear us now? Matter of fact, is it possible? Can you send her a message there?
Absolutely.
I said I'm posted up now. Yeah, can you just message her? Okay, great. So let's jump back. I'm sorry, got a little distracted there, y'all. It's always some technical difficulties when you're dealing with live broadcasting. So I just want to apologize if anyone is having difficulty hearing us. She says she's about to switch phones. Okay, so maybe that's her device. All right.
It's a user error.
Yeah, hey, well, I hope so, because that was some great stuff that we were talking about there. So,
She said she's just about to switch her phone. Yeah.
no. Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, hopefully that's good. But listen, so that's good. So we were talking about, you know, the core values, right, and how they impacted us, and then you went into talking about.
You give an example is shopping and
Yep.
responsibility,
Yep.
return on investment,
Yep.
decisiveness, value add.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Did anybody have anything to add to that? Or did I resonate with either of y'all in any ways in terms of maybe the way that y'all make the decisions when it comes to buying things? Because, like, again,
Because I mean, coming to me, for me, it's like I was told, like, do you want it or do you need it? And
Right.
that's one
Yeah.
thing. When I heard that always stuck with me.
mm-hmm.
Do I really want what I'm gonna buy, or do I really need what I'm gonna buy? And that's now is my thing. Like, okay, I look at it. Do I want it? Do I need it? If I don't need it, it means that I want.
Yeah,
I don't want
yeah.
it.
Well, I think, yeah,
And we all got wants.
right.
We all got wants. It's about the
I
important thing.
heard your feet.
Need.
Rob, what you got to say over here?
Come on, Rob. Mr. Green, what you
I'm
think?
just so today.
What you
I'm
think
a
about
sponge
that,
today.
Mr.
I'm
Green?
SpongeBob. I'm gonna soak it all in.
Soak
okay?
it in. All right.
I'm gonna just.
How you shop anyway?
How do I
You
shop?
mind?
Goodwill.
So you buy everything you want,
Everything.
You want or need?
Because
or what you need.
what I want and what I need, because I don't want much.
Okay.
Right.
So it gives me that affordability to go ahead and get that little thing that I want because I don't want much.
You already got what you. That's hey. That's
Hey,
good.
that's
yeah.
smart,
That
man.
resonates.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not wanting much, right?
Yeah,
I think that
not wanting
resonate
much.
with me. that, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't
So-
want much, then you,
Yeah. Then you have a tendency then to buy what you need because your want is not this big.
exactly.
You know,
yeah.
so
I agree with that. That's a
really
good,
You're,
good
you're
point.
minimalist.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
minimalist.
Takes a lot of practice.
Man, hey, I'm loving
Right.
this.
I'm the same way too. I'm a minimalist when it comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all kind of got that
Yeah.
trait actually. Funny enough.
Minimalist too.
Yeah. Hey, I see. I got my hood on. I see my
Yeah,
brother's
where is
got
my
his
hood?
hood. Yours, you sitting on it?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
You're sitting on yours. So
What?
I think this is
I'll
why
stay in the
we're
hood.
not getting that interaction
Okay.
that we accustomed to. 'cause
Now we're talking.
We
now
not
we're
hooded
talking.
up.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right, Jojo.
That this conversation is going astray. My bald spot is distracting us, y'all. I apologize about that.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Now
So all right. So let's
we're under the hood.
right
this is-
conversation under the hood. So here we go. So with conversations under the hood again, our goal is what? Is to talk about business, entrepreneurship, and family, right? And how those dynamics come. They come together. So and we call that what? The business of family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, just so we can kind of reflect back on that, I think it's always good for us to make sure we keep that part of it as like the core of our conversation, because it's easy for us when we start having fun to go away. So, and that's okay. I want to go away.
Yeah.
But then as long as we come back and then we can go away and come back and go away. So,
So I really like that, right? Because it emphasizes that everything that we do, it should be for the benefit of our families.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's why you keep bringing us there.
Yeah. Well, and with that being said, so let's see. I don't know how many people or if anybody. I don't see anything here in relationship to whether or not they can hear us. So hopefully, matter of fact, you turn your volume up there and see if can you hear okay. Because as long as you can hear
to whether or not they can hear.
all right. Then perfect. So it's
Yeah, we
okay.
So use the
Yeah. All right.
Denise.
Sorry, well, we've been caught up on someone saying they can't hear us, so we've been trying to deal with that. But it sounds like that's just another issue. Oh, we lost a viewer. I'm so sorry. I never knew my father. No, just kidding.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that.
For those who are into the movies.
Yeah, Nemo boy.
Girls Nemo, yeah.
Hey, that's family. That's family. All right. So
Bruce.
right.
So back on track to what we were saying.
Oh, y'all is okay.
Don't get Mr. Green started.
Oh, yeah. Once I get the giggle,
Yeah, always come
Yeah.
back to
Don't get
Blame it
Mr.
on
Green
Mr.
started.
Green.
right. Okay, y'all got
Yep.
me crying, man. Look
I
at
got
that.
buzzed.
He'll look
I'm
at the
glad I got my
camera
eyes
again.
worked.
25 numbers last week.
Yeah, you did. Now
Because I looked at the camera and said I'm single.
Oh,
But I
Do it
should-
again
I
one
wanna
more
be.
time.
No, I'm good.
we gotta do that before
I got
the show
spammers.
is over.
one more time, one more time.
Hey,
We're gonna
Okay.
put your number on the
Nothing
screen.
wrong with
No,
doing
no.
okay.
it.
We apologize.
Y'all,
I thought you was gonna do it.
No.
Okay.
hey,
What's your
this
number?
is your
Your
shot.
number.
This is
I'm gonna get JoJo number out.
This is it. We're global.
She go,
right.
okay.
We
All
ready?
right,
Everybody
we're back again. We're back again.
Yeah. All right. So
Sorry.
this is where the music GTPI is supposed to come in here.
I
We-
can't watch the podcast and do the music.
I'm sorry.
And being single
I'm
at the same
sorry.
time,
Okay.
that's hard work.
All right. Hey, no. Okay. So let's get back to it. I'm sorry. Hey, look, they laughing at us, boy. They got the giggles on us. Okay. So, on a serious note, something that I wanted to talk about.
That was a serious note, though.
That was
You can't
was that an
That was
A
soprano.
or an F?
F.
Okay. All
Back
right.
to the family.
Yeah, no,
I see
all
you
right.
have your
See,
diagram
okay,
in
come on,
front
can
of
y'all
you.
please stop? Because y'all got me. I'm trying to stay on track.
Now we're all over the place.
Okay. I invited important people to this, just so y'all know, man. Y'all got me up here looking crazy.
We are very important, but we are human.
That's
And
what
we-
I thought.
That's the whole point of the show, is bringing a element of laughter, joy, and humanity, right?
Laughter,
To
true
conversations under the-
medicine.
All right.
Yes.
So, no, all right, all right. I want to ask if all of y'all.
Pause.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry.
Okay.
I need
Okay.
new friends.
No, I'm telling you. Oh, seriously, I want to engage y'all in to try this this activity here. So what I wanted to talk about, since we were talking about in our previous conversations about, you know, kindness and mentors and, you know, all of these different elements about like really improving, you know, self-improvement, you know, having focus towards goals and success and that type of stuff. So with that, I came across something that I haven't looked at in a while, and I want you all, if you're willing, you three, to try this. You need a piece of paper, JoJo, and I made sure I had not brought a piece for you. I had one blank piece. Can somebody give him a piece? Oh, perfect. Great.
Thank you.
You need a pen?
You're
There you
welcome.
go. All right, you got one. Okay. All right, so you need a pen? Okay. And so for anybody out there who has a moment and is interested in, I forget what I call this theory and all of that. I guess what I have here is the theory of good things happen to good people, bad things happen to everybody, because the day that I sat down and kind of came up with this, and I'm saying I came up with it, and I don't know if somebody else is already, you know, have a theory similar to this or not. I don't know. I just know for me, this was a moment that I was isolated from everything, and it gave me an opportunity to just try to put a perspective on the world, right? And part of that, you know, all of the things that was happening around me, you know, you see at moments in your life when you feel like you're getting beat down and beat down and beat down, and you ask yourself, why is this happening to me, right? You know, especially if you're trying to do everything right. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes even when you're doing right, things don't go right, let's just say. Or you look over and see somebody else that maybe not be the greatest person, but somehow things are working out for them.
Right.
And that leaves you in a state of confusion in a way, right? And so I tried to come up with a way to understand how that's possible, or maybe not understand, but be able to explain that maybe to my kids or to somebody who I might be talking to who is dealing with that, right? Because from time to time, you know, I do get into conversations with people about different things. And so what I would like you to do, if you would, just kind of entertain me here for a moment. I'm going to walk you through this little exercise, okay? And then I'll explain it as I'm doing it. And then if y'all have any questions about it, or, you know, comments, like, you know, I'm really looking for, and the same with the audience. Anybody out there who is watching this, it looks like we're down to 2 viewers, so that might just be y'all too, I don't know. But either way, we're going to do this exercise, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that, you know, like I said, if you have any ideas or any questions, let's, you know, talk about it as we go through it, okay? But what I'm trying to do here, as I said, is to explain how good things happen to good people and how bad things can happen to anybody, okay? And so the first thing that I did was I drew a big circle to think about the world. So just draw a big circle, if you would. And make it big. Make it big. You want to make it big, right? Like,
face your head, JoJo.
You know, like, if you could make it as big as the whole paper, then you would kind of get it. Like, you know, because this circle represents the world, like the globe, the earth, however you see it. Okay. That's everything, right, beyond you. Okay, so that's what the first circle represents. It represents the world as we know it. And then within that world, I tried to understand, okay, my experience has obviously got to be different than your experience, right? And different than your experience. Like, there's similarities in different things, but ultimately we have different realities, right? True. And so that reality I try to represent as a world as well, right? And so your world it consists of multiple things. Like in the case of work, right? You have a job, you have your wife and children, let's say a pet, whatever it is, whatever your world contains, is going to go into this next circle. So the next circle that I want you to create is not as big as the world, right? Because your world is not inclusive of my world and everybody else's world, right? Mm-hmm. So that circle that you would put inside the circle that you just made, you can maybe make that circle like 1/20th the size of the circle that you just made. So I say 1/20th the size. That would be small. Yeah. I know. There you go. Yeah. Okay. So now, again, if we consider the fact that your world is made up of other components, because like your job, if you think about your job as being an entity, it's really its own world as well, right? Because whether
Right.
you there or not, it still functions, right? And there's a bunch of people that influence what's happening.
And knowing how to separate those world is one thing. Like keep work at work, home at home. You don't
Indeed.
bring home to work and work to home.
Well, see, this right here is going to kind of help bring some clarity to how you can either do that or how that doesn't work out for you.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I think of those.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
balance work
Yeah.
and family.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
can't.
Very important.
I don't bring work home. That's
Absolutely.
No homework for you?
nope.
No,
I keep work where it's at,
Yeah.
and I get home. It's take care of home.
Hopefully you didn't tell the teacher that.
That's right.
So last time I brought work home, I got married. So
Oh, see how that works?
Oh,
Yeah. Right.
okay. Back on
Okay.
track.
So back on track. Y'all are terrible.
That's a good one.
So
Hey.
we got here. Bruh. All right. So we got the big circle that represents the Earth, right? Then we have a circle that is about 1/20th the size of that, which is
That's a big
That's
circle.
that is.
yeah, that's a big circle. That's representing like your world, and your world really is represented by the things that you impact, the things that you can really influence, right?
Right.
Because we could argue that from a global perspective, you're not influencing much,
Mhm.
right? So we'll narrow that down. So that's what that circle represents. Now, in the Earth, other people have their realities and
Yeah,
their
their
worlds,
world,
right?
yeah.
So your circle wouldn't be in there by itself, right? There would be other circles in there that
Yeah.
might be the same size or bigger or smaller, right, than the circle that you have, right?
Gotcha.
And so when you think about the Earth, you got to think about there might be a gazillion, let's just say, if there's a gazillion people in the world, there would be a gazillion circles here that are all moving around, right? Kind of like the human body, atoms or electricity moving, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Just things are moving and manifesting and happening, right? So in your world, right, your circle, what you want to do is think about the things that you've done in your life, or the places that you've been, the relationships that you've had, the jobs that you had, like everything that you can really think of about yourself in your life.
Yeah.
And those things that you would consider good, you would put a plus sign, right? And the things that you might consider not so good, you could put a negative sign to represent those, right? And what that does is it gives you an opportunity to kind of look at your world, look at your circle, and think about it. Are you a positive person, or are you really borderline negative person?
So
But just because a person impacted with negative things, maybe that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a negative person.
It does
So
not.
to reflect that on a,
I agree with that too.
to
yeah.
look at that and say, well, because that might beat somebody up. That may make somebody go, oh, I'm just terrible, or I'm just hopeless, or I'm negative. I'm so everything's negative in my life. But it's just the way the wording of it is what got me. So I don't feel like. I see what you're saying. How that would give you a balance.
Like,
Kind of
yeah,
balance
because
of
I
knowing
know.
how
What
many
are you
things-
saying like constructive criticism, or are you talking about like what somebody might think that's wrong?
I mean, just even through just doing the exercise. If you're doing plus and minus signs, like the good things that happen in your life, bad things happen in your life, and you got more negative signs and you got
Yeah.
plus, to take that and say, I'm a negative person, or I've got negative things. I mean, a lot of those negative things that have happened in your life, you have to split those and say, well, is that because of something I've done, or is that something because of the situation that I was in? So you kind of get that plus or that negative, whatever it may be. You kind of have to have a balance within that plus or that or that negative.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? To say, because all those negative things may not be something that you can control or something that you.
Indeed.
Yeah, I get it.
So
yeah.
it's not a reflection of who you are.
Exactly.
The way I was understanding the
Of what you've done.
is,
It's
of
not
what
okay. Let me clarify that, okay? Because you're absolutely right. The goal of this exercise is not to put you in a state of sadness or depression by any means. So I can definitely respect where you're
Appreciate
coming
that.
from. Right. The goal here is just to give you some clarity on what's going on in your life, kind of. So this is not really a measurement tool of who you are as much as it is an evaluation tool of your life, right?
Well,
And
you're involving yourself
All
with
this
it.
effort.
yeah, because remember, this isn't the whole picture.
Right.
So I'm glad you pointed that out, because the point here is when you evaluate yourself and evaluate the things that have happened in your life or the things you've done, however you want to look at that, right? Because that really becomes from self. Like how you're going to do this exercise is self-guided. It's not like you have to follow this approach. The goal here is really for you to be able to say, okay, in my life, okay, I got a chance to play basketball, a world, internationally, that's a plus for me. Yeah, I had my first girlfriend, my first, like whatever things are important to you. That's how you're going to determine those things. And the goal there is just really, again, for you to get a preliminary idea of, is the things am I headed down the right path, basically, right?
Right.
And then if you realize, damn, man, my life there's a lot of negative things happening here. Then you decide, is it me? Is the choices I'm making?
And that's
Is
what
it
I'm
the
saying.
people that I'm around?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Or what is it?
Right.
Because if you don't think deep enough, you don't get there. And this is the goal, is to get you to think deeper and deeper and deeper about who you are, what you represent, and who you can become or who you can be. And sometimes, those other circles that we were talking about, because, for instance, a smaller circle, right, in this earth for you might be your children. Now you look at your children and you think about the things that stand out to you about your child, experiences they had or whatever. Maybe you plus and a minus in that. And and again, the goal here is to understand, how is it that me and my kid can't have a conversation? How come everything I tell them, we constantly, right? And there's something going on there, right? And if you evaluate your relationships that you have outside of that child, along with evaluating that child as you understand them, per se, right? And you understand that they are in their own world as well, then all you can ever do is influence their world, right? You can't change their world,
No,
but you can
can't.
influence it. And so
If they let you influence it, because sometimes they go against the grain.
this is very true. And there's nothing you can do about those kinds of circumstances, but the effort that you put forward to understand is what this exercise is about. It's just about gaining some understanding about how good things can happen to good people, but bad things can happen to anybody. So you could be doing everything. So the point here, right, as we go forward, is the other circles. So like you in my circle, right? You in my circle,
Okay.
or not necessarily in my circle, but you are going to, your world comes into contact with my world,
With your
right?
world, yeah.
So perfect example of this, if anybody can see this, right? All these circles moving around in there. So like, let's say you and I connect on Sunday, this coming Sunday, to do some work at your house, but you had a bad week, man. You broke your toe, you didn't get paid, just everything is negative, or at least it feels that way. Well, if I come into your world at that point and I'm positive, hopefully I'm positive enough to bring you up out of that, right?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So that's what I mean about these positives and negatives. And so when you look into my life and you say, well, is he positive or is he negative? And then you start thinking about, well, what are the positives and what are the negatives, right? And then when we interact, see what I'm saying? If I'm bringing negative into your life, it's likely that we're going to either have a negative experience unless you have a very positive, you see what I'm saying, attitude. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like trying to describe that type of dynamic, if that makes sense, right?
Okay.
Because I just think of so many times as a young person and even as an older person, people say, how could that happen? How could, you know what I mean? Like that seems to be such a common question, especially for tragic situations and things of that nature. You know what I mean? And so this is just a way to try to find, I guess, some comfort in a way to understand that it may not be your fault at why something negative happened to you. See what I mean?
Yeah, I think, what I'm understanding you to say, if I may sum it, is like doing a self-evaluation or self-assessment, right? Constantly checking how your reality is, who you hang out with, what do you occupy your thoughts, what occupies your thoughts, how do you impact other people, so that self-assessment. And then, as you're going through this exercise, I suppose, the positive thoughts versus the negative thoughts that you may have. So, but I think to Rob's point, what I want to emphasize here is that when you do this self-assessment or evaluate your reality, right, And if there are things that are happening, you know, all these experiences, to a certain extent, it's not necessarily a reflection of who you are, the core of who you are.
Okay.
You know, so the exercise, I think, is saying, look at these things that are happening, and then empower yourself, you know, to say the things that I have the ability to change or to impact.
Right.
You know, I can start doing these certain things to impact, you know, these kind of things that I don't like. But the things that you do not have the power to impact or the ability to impact, then you can find a healthy way to navigate around that.
You don't have to
You
beat
know,
yourself
so-
up. That's
right,
kind of what
so-
this is.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? Like,
yeah.
if that makes sense, right? Because
Right.
if you find yourself always asking, why me? Why me? Right? You know what I mean? Like, that's how people fall into depression and stuff.
Yeah.
Because,
True.
you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
this way it's kind of like, well, maybe I came into contact with this person at a point where it was negative for them. Or maybe I was
Yeah.
negative and then you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's just trying to bring some clarity and understanding. And how this is relevant to business, again, is just that evaluation part, like you said, that self-evaluation. If you want to grow in anything, if you want to prove your circumstances in just about anything, like one of the first steps that you have to do is evaluate what your current situation is. You know what I mean? And you know, this right here was a exercise that was a part of our bullying prevention workshops, right? Because that's what we're trying to get people to think about at that time, especially from like a person who's being bullied. Because one of the, why me? Why are people bullying? Why people keep messing? You know what I mean? Like that's a
Yeah.
very common scenario. So again, this was meant to kind of try to
Yeah.
bring
But
some clarity.
yeah, that goes with business too.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's whatever you allow
Mm-hmm.
to come in. It's what's
Mhm.
then you gotta be like, okay, I allow this person to come in my life, and this is what he brought into
Right.
my life. So I get that part, and I agree with that. Yeah, it's only what you allow to come in your life. That I mean, you're already allowing it. So
Yeah.
that's
And you
what
gotta
happens.
scrutinize it. That's like a real part of this, man, is sometimes we allow things to happen because we don't pay full attention to it, right?
Very
like
true.
we make space for people to be who we want them to be versus who they actually are.
I was just
I
thinking
just
that.
You know
think
what I'm
That-
saying?
I was just thinking that.
That right
What Maya
there,
Angelou
huge.
say,
Yeah.
if somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
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 You know, and sometimes we get caught up because we want people to be what we perceive them to be or
Yeah.
what we
The
would
best-
like them to be.
What I see,
And then
I
people
see better for you,
consistently.
or I see better in you. This is what I want
Yeah,
you to.
because I want to have
We're
this
all
great
guilty of it.
friendship or relationship
Right.
with you as a family member, as a friend, or as a coworker, right? So instead of accepting who you are because you consistently show me who you choose to be,
Right.
right? I keep making excuses and not wanting to see the reality in front of me because I want you to be this person
Right.
that, you know, in my mind, it's like, oh no, they don't mean that. You know, making excuses and gaslighting yourself because you want somebody to be who you would like them to be instead of who they actually are.
Because you only see
Yeah. And
You're-
that
you're only
happens in
gonna
the
look at
family
the-
too. Yeah.
like only the good part is like you see but you turn to
Turn a blind eye.
Yeah, turn a
Yeah.
blind eye to that.
Because it doesn't
and-
fit your narrative of who
Yeah,
you want
because
them
that's
to
what you
be.
want.
Right.
And
And
you-
it's a challenge. It's
yeah,
really
for
a
a lot of
challenge.
people that is.
Yeah,
For a lot of
at
people that
work,
is.
in a family, you
Yes.
know, extended
Yeah.
family, friends, or what have
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
We all know that you run into that person that you know they're not healthy for you,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then yet you find yourself spending a lot of time with them,
Somehow
making
being
excuses for
yeah.
them, and
You
not
gotta
holding
watch
them
out who you
accountable.
put, who you let
You know,
in.
and so forth. And sooner or later, that's starting to impact you.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I've been trying to do, and it's hard, it's like if I'm in your presence or I hang out with you and I end up feeling negative about myself or about whatever it is, then I have to, you know, do a self-assessment. I say, is this relationship good for me, right? And in a healthy way, right? But so that's I think that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be very careful about who you bring
Yeah.
in your circle. My nephew
Yeah.
said this. I thought those were profound, wise words. he was giving advice to another, nephew of mine, and he was saying, protect your family, protect your peace, protect yourself. I was like, wow, that's so well said.
Very well said. Yeah.
Within context, right? Because when you do that, then you start saying like, wait a minute, is this the kind of energy I want in my peace, in my family,
Right.
in myself?
Right.
How does this person make me feel, or how does this situation
Yeah.
make me feel? And
That's
if it-
well said, though.
right,
Very
it
well
was
said.
very wise, and he was
Family.
like, yeah, man
Yeah.
of few words. He said that it resonated so deep.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that even though it was an
Can you
advice
say that
to
again?
somebody-
Because that was so very
Oh,
good.
let me write that down.
Hey.
Hey, no, that's
Yeah,
that's good
protect
stuff.
protect
family.
yourself, your family,
Mm-hmm.
protect yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and protect your peace.
Yep.
It probably said it, but that's what resonated,
Yeah.
right? And I was just like, wow, because that is your right,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes we interact with people because we feel like we have no choice,
Right.
and we don't give ourselves that choice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At work, you can't help that. You have to interact with people, you have to work in teams or what have you. So you have to separate that professional relationship versus personal relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, in a personal relationship, you have a greater flexibility to control who you allow in
Yeah.
and who you
Yeah.
don't. But I find out that majority of us people, I'm certainly guilty of that, of not protecting my family, not protecting my peace, and not protecting myself. Because most of us, we have that people pleasing element in us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We don't want to compromise the relationship with people that we like, even when they do us wrong,
Hey,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
that's a comfort piece.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's how we wind up allowing or turning a blind eye, like we talked about. There's a certain level of comfort
Yeah.
that I think we found within maintaining a relationship. That's why we like, oh, he just
Turn the blind eye because
Yeah.
you
doing
want
what
to
he
see
do
the.
or doing what she do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right. So that I think is a great next point for us to discuss here as we go forward in terms of relationships, whether we talking business relationships or we talking personal relationships or family child relationships, right? Let's talk about disappointments, right? And we were just talking about a moment ago how we have the tendency to see people the way we want to see them, and really rather than for who they actually are.
Yep.
And so, and I think fear of disappointment, right, is a part of that, right? We would rather allow people to trip and fall and say and do things that are maybe not necessarily what we would do or say, right? But we do that for the sake of maintaining a relationship, right? We don't want to rock the boat or what have you. And so I'm curious, when we think about parent and child relationships or husband and wife relationships or even business relationships, right? Certain customers, you might expect them to act or do or be a certain way, and then they do the opposite.
Yeah.
Or the same with, our spouses or children or friends. So let's open that conversation up. Do you what are your thoughts on that, Rob? Let's put you out there.
Put me out there second. Let me pick up.
And you having a great
Yeah,
time.
I'm
that
gonna keep
second.
real with you, bro. That's a touchy subject for me when it comes to family and kids because I'm in a whole different world of stuff when it comes to that. So
Yeah.
it puts me not clearly thinking on what I should say probably when it comes to that issue. So I'm gonna pass that to you and I'm gonna pick it up somewhere else around the table. If that's
I want to do
okay.
something really
Because
uncomfortable.
that's really uncomfortable when it comes
yeah.
to talking about my kids and my family because it's something I'm going through right now.
Complicated,
It's something really very
Emotional.
dear to my heart, emotional that
Yeah.
part. So
Okay.
When I say complicated, I'm talking about the relationship between my husband and I. When my husband and I met, we were in our early 20s and we were very young. And at that age, you're a total different person, right? But his experience and my experience at some point we clashed, right? Because as we getting to know each other, there's certain things that he likes and certain things that I don't like and vice versa, right? And so one of those was letting go of the friends that were not necessarily healthy for our relationship, such as our exes, right? Because sometimes when you meet, you're not sure. You're like, is he's gonna stay? Is he gonna go? Is she gonna stay? Is she gonna go? And you find yourself kind of like keeping contact with your exes just for safety. So, well, but he looking at me really hard, like, don't you dare, don't you dare.
No, hey, you know,
But
I
we're
hope
transparent, right? Like, and because the purpose of this is to learn and learn to protect yourself, protect your peace.
Yeah.
You know, before you have your family, you have to protect yourself, protect your peace, because the world is full of people that have good intentions and some that just don't have good intentions. Some want to see you grow.
That's why
Some
I
want
like
to see
that you said
you
that, and I
fail.
put that down because that's huge. You
It
gotta
is
protect those
huge.
things. Those,
Yeah,
those things
who-
are key things.
right.
Key things in life.
Absolutely. But at some
For
point,
me,
we
anyway.
decided, you know, hey, this life, I'm not about that life, which it wasn't bad. It just was something that worked for him at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to say, hey, you know, this makes me feel bad about myself. This makes me feel negative. This makes me, you know, judge myself harshly and all of that. So one time I just said, hey, you know what? I made these decisions for myself and I'm going to do this. Like, for we lived in Chicago together. And I said, I'm going to move back to Lansing. Don't worry about it. I got a job. I got all this stuff lined up for myself, right? And he was like, wait a minute. What did I do? And I had to be brave enough to say, it's not about you. It's about me. If you heard me, I said, I made these decisions for myself because here's what I want for myself.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, at that, because you gotta do that with people. And then my husband, he knew right there, and I had him hooked. He was so in love. He was like, "Can I come?" I
That's
was
how
like,
you knew you had them. Though.
no. No, but right then I said, you have to make sure this decision is right for you. If you want to move back to Lansing with me, Lansing, because we're in Chicago, like I said, you have to make sure this is what's right for you and what works for you. Because at this point, due our experiences, I have to put myself first. I cannot afford to put everything and everybody else's first, and then when I go home, I have nothing left. It's just depression and sadness and mad. I just had to make a decision, like, that's not what I want.
I think
for me.
that's a female way of doing. That's how females work.
Easy.
Yeah, women go on
Easy.
easy mode, guys.
But
Play
I
on
was
hard.
Easy.
wait a minute.
Watch out.
But no,
I
the
would
way
have
I
made that
see it,
decision
sorry,
regardless
sorry,
of gender,
but the
you
way
know.
the way I see it is like this. I mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah, you're doing, and for us, I mean, his personality is probably like mine. I'm risky.
Yeah, you take risks.
I
we,
take
we
the
much
risk.
more calculate. I'm much
Yeah,
more calculated.
women are very.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys.
Detail oriented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
we're risky,
Yeah. But I
especially
have
when
to
you're
say,
young.
though, yeah.
You're risky.
I have to say though, where I was going with that, not only my husband, you know, sat down, did his own evaluation, like, is this a person I want to spend the rest of my life with?
Mm-hmm.
Is this somebody with me uprooting everything that I've done, my job, my apartment and everything in Chicago, and move back to Michigan? He wanted nothing to do with Lansing, Michigan. You know, coming from Chicago, a big city, busy life, to like this really almost too quiet, you know, area. But to my surprise, he made that decision, you know, and I had to make sure that it wasn't a decision that I guilted him, you know.
Right,
of.
right.
Yeah, to say, oh my God, you didn't love me, use me, and then he has to be with you out of guilt. That does not work out.
No.
So I wanted to make sure that for him to be with me for these 24 years, it has to be his decision, and he has to really think, you know, about it. And so when it came, he's like, well, I'm coming with you. I was like, okay, you sign up for
He
this.
did the risk.
It's
He
gonna
took
be.
the risk. And that's how
Well, that's
men.
it.
I think,
That's
in
why
my
we've been here
opinion,
for 24
that's how men
years.
work. We are, if what we want, we're gonna go and take the risk.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Go
That's
for it.
how we do. That's how I work, and that's majority men. That's, in my opinion, that's how majority men work.
Yeah.
When we got our mind into something, we'll take the risk
Mhm.
if we know it's worth the risks too.
Right.
Mhm.
If it's worth the risk for us, we're gonna take the risk.
Right.
And that's
Right.
I think that's a male mentality.
Yeah.
Is we take risks.
Yeah, I know. Be careful, 'cause some
Because
males will
women
be
are
like, hold on,
very
I don't.
careful. Women are
I
very
take
careful about
calculated
things.
risks. Like, my husband, he takes risks, but they're very calculated, right? He sit there like, okay, is this a very calculated risk? What kind of
Now I
outcome
think,
will I come? Yeah, so
yeah, now.
Right.
now,
But back
yeah,
in
they're
the-
23,
back
yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
when we were young,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
took it's
Hey, if it ain't gonna kill
we're
me.
programmed that way. As men,
Just
I
make
think
me
we're
stronger,
programmed
right?
that way. We take
Right.
our risk
Right.
and then we deal with it on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sharing this story also because some of our friends ask, how did you do it? 24 years later, you're still together, you're still goofy as you want to be, you still act like your friends, like you're teenagers. But then it is that conscious, self value, self evaluation, and deciding for yourself, and come together with that other person because you want to be with them, not because you emotionally dependent on them or financially dependent on them, or
Yeah, I
all
don't think
those
anybody
things that
should do that,
forces
yeah.
you, that forces you to be with a person you don't want to be with,
Yeah.
right? So, but so that we try to be very transparent about our experiences to share also with other young couples that say, hey, how did you make it? Don't do this, right? Don't be with somebody because you feel emotionally obligated to be with them, unless you want to. If you're the kind of person that emotional dependence on somebody activates you, then by all means,
Yeah.
But most of the time, if
Yeah.
you with somebody because you really would like them to be somebody else that you're not willing to accept them for who they are. That's where sometimes you see things not working out. So
Yeah. No, that's good. I enjoy listening to that. And I just want to say that just for clarity's sake, because it was brought to my attention last week. One of the questions, or the way that I posed the question, might be, putting people on the spot. And so I just want to say, if that's the case, that's not my goal. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. As well as you don't have to speak about your own personal situation.
Right.
I'm looking for wisdom and advice in a general sense. So you don't have to feel obligated to talk about your personal experiences. So that being said, in relationship to what you just said, Lindy, about relationships, what I think is really important to mention, since we're on relationships, and this is something that I don't know if anybody else is really talking about it, or maybe how they're talking about it, but supporting one another. I observe people, married, single, dating, whatever. I observe the dynamics, in their relationships, looking for things that might help me grow and be better, or things that might teach me to what not to do, kind of thing.
True.
And one thing that I've learned that I think is critical to mention now is that the idea of support, because the relationships that I've seen, especially the ones that have not succeeded for longevity, let's just say, seem to be relationships where people are chasing their own dreams individually, rather than the two parties realizing that y'all should have a collective dream as well as your individual dreams. Because there's nothing wrong with you desiring to do and be whatever it is that you have in your mind. But if you are a pair, if you are part of a team, it's important to know that there's that fundamental goal that exists, right? And that fundamental goal, in my mind, and feel free to share what your thoughts are, any of you, is the goal of helping your spouse, your partner, achieve their goal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if my goal, when I wake up every day, is to help ensure that you can succeed at your goal, and your goal every day when you wake up is for me to succeed at my goal, we should have no problem arriving to where we want to be, as well as pulling our relationship forward in a way that really strengthens the foundation of what relationships are about, which is support. The relationship, it doesn't matter whether it's male, female, whatever your relationship is, at the end of the day, it comes down to support. And the only way to get support in my mind that is genuine, that is universally beneficial, right, is when I'm not waking up thinking about me. I'm waking up thinking about you. Because if you got me covered and I got you covered, I don't have to worry about myself.
That's
You
right.
see what I'm saying? And
right.
that's what's missing. Like, I'm telling you, man, it don't matter if I'm looking at people who've been married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or people who just got married or whatever. It's usually some superficial reason or ideology at why they're together.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you really analyze the dynamics of the relationship, you don't see the supporting of one another's goals and objectives as much. Not to say it doesn't exist, but I'm just saying, you know, especially
Yeah.
the different jobs and things I had, you know, being in people's personal space, heating and air conditioning put me in people's personal life, right? So I got to see a lot of that stuff at a young age, man. And I think those things have helped me, right? Because, you know, since we've been married, you've succeeded in lots of ways, right? You've got your master's, you got your PhD, you just continually grow. And that makes me happy, because even if that means you stand on my shoulders to reach where you're going, right? Or if I get the opportunity to throw some gas on the fire to help light the way, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever I could do to watch you continue to, because it makes me happy to see you happy, right? And like I said, when I look at a lot of relationships, you don't get that feeling, man, that people are
Yeah.
trying to make each other actually happy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's such a fundamental element that most relationships are missing, is that desire to actually put you before me, right?
That's very
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
Like, you guys gotta look like I put my wife number one. My wife puts me number one. And it says it when you get married, you become one.
Right. Right.
So that's so key right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that, man, because, you know, I think it's good to hear it, right? And I'm going to listen to this again, so I'm going to hear it again. But it's good, man,
Yeah.
because, you know, I think, Rob, you said it, you know, before that, you know, or maybe it was you, JoJo, I can't remember, but the idea of, like, us being engaged in these kind of conversations and talking about things like this, it not only helps, you know, people who may be watching now or watching later, but it also kind of helps us if we actually are digesting the things that we talk about. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And to be married for 24 years, you know, it takes some commitment, right?
Patience.
It takes all of that, man. It really
Yeah.
does.
It's always
And,
gonna be
you know,
Everything.
hey,
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
a lot of elements.
47. I'm
Commitment.
47, right? So
I thought you was 49.
47.
no, stop, cut it
Oh
out.
my God.
Look,
47.
I'm
That's the first thing
47,
I learned when I became
and
American
so I've been
citizen.
married for half of my life,
Yeah.
right? And I wouldn't have it any other way, right? Because I think if you could be with someone who does what we just said, that will encourage you and support you and lead you into areas of life that's going to help you rise to the occasion, man. And you know, our dynamics are, I'm sure, different than many other people's, but you know me personally,
Yeah.
way back. So, you know, coming in a
And
place
vice
where,
versa.
yeah, hey, bro,
So I
and
will
we
say,
can see that.
married or not, right? Married or not, you know, regardless of the kind of relationship that you're in, there's so much value in being with somebody who sees you, who hears you, who supports you, and who allows you to be your best self.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fit you into their ideal person that they're looking for. You know, so there's a very delicate balance there, right? Because, and being completely transparent, open, and communication. He knows, I mean, I'm not going to put that topic down until we have a closure. We have a proper understanding before we move forward. You know, it used to get in his nerves, but that's how we learn and grow, right? You know, because Ed, you know, he's the kind of person that's like, I got it the first time you said it. Well, then respond in a way that I see it. That's confirming to me. So we continue to learn as we grow. That's why 24 years
Communication,
later,
yeah.
we still there. Yeah, because we're not afraid of those difficult conversations. So whether you're married or not, whether it's friendship, whether it's just any kind of partnership, right? If you have those values that I'm gonna let my friend, my partner, my husband, my spouse, or my child be the best at who they are instead of working so hard to change them into what I want them to be, because who they are can bring so much value, right? And so in my work of in my place of employment, and where we value diversity, and diversity, it could be that the person that you are is very different from who I am,
Right.
and so there's so much to learn.
Everybody's
from
a
each
part
other.
of the piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Everybody
Right.
has a part of a piece of this
Yeah.
puzzle.
And also, keep in mind also, as we have the privilege to be around other relationships, what we see, our perception may be very different from what actually is, right? So I try to ask questions. My friends, since when I was young, I had a best friend who was like 76 years old. Or ask why, bless her soul. But I used to learn so much from her. If more than anything, I've learned that not everything is that deep, right? The amount of emotion you invest on an issue, because at that moment you're so caught up in your emotions, and it just seems so important to the point where you can ruin relationships, you can make short-term decisions with long-term consequences, because you're not realizing that you're caught up in your emotions, and you're not realizing that that very thing that you're so upset about is not even that deep. Because you can go back 5 years ago, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe how mad I was over this thing.
And you're the only
And I'm-
person that's caught getting ill
You
effect
see what I'm
from
saying?
it.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of things,
So-
a lot of people
Everybody else going on their
do
day to
everything
day
with
happy.
emotion. Like they respond with emotion, do an action with emotion. Everything is emotional. Like you, everything you do really is emotional.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got so
yeah.
you gotta look at that part itself right there. It's how you're responding. You're responding with your emotions.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you take time to say, hey, is it that deep really?
Yeah.
And if it's not that deep, just let it roll off your
Yeah.
shoulder.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
No, those are very good points.
That's
And,
that's a good one.
yeah.
Is there anybody still on there for the closing?
I
Is there
see
something?
reviews there. But
Does anybody want to say anything or add anything to this before we end?
Yeah, if anybody has any comments or anything,
Yeah.
we have been monitoring them. It looks like I think I pretty much answered them. That what was listed there, but anyway, I just wanted to again say this is that it's important to remember, right? As we evaluate, today we talked about, this relationship piece that we're just talking about now, but then also the exercise that we talked about, right? And I just want to end today's show, being mindful of evaluating ourselves daily, right? And I know I don't do it every day like I used to, but during the time when I was, especially when we were doing the project down in Detroit, where we were doing lots of kitchens and bathrooms, each day I would try to figure out what could I do better tomorrow than I did today. Especially when it's a routine, right? When tomorrow is going to be basically the same thing as today. What could I have done better, right? And I think that's applicable whether you're looking at it from a job perspective like I'm talking about, or whether it's a relationship, right? If you're struggling in your relationships, whether it's on the job or your personal relationships, ask yourself, what can you do better? Because sometimes, those issues, and again, that's what that exercise was about, is really really trying to see, root causes, right? Is it the people that you're around that's creating your reality? Is it you? Is it the things that you do, the choices you make that are creating your reality, right? And if so, know that you can, there's more than one choice, right? There's always more options on the table. Sometimes we are not aware of those options because we lack information, or we lack time to think, but there's usually more than one option on the table. So I would encourage to look at that. And so we're winding down here. We're just over an hour and 4 minutes into it. So as we close up, is there any things? Remember, our goal, guys, is nuggets. nuggets, anything that we can leave on the table today for someone that might be watching, that they might be able to benefit from the things that we discussed. So we'll start with JoJo.
Yeah, I'm glad that you want to start with me. 'Cause really, I would like to probably touch this on our next one because we were talking about emotional decisions
Mm-hmm.
and logical decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta know. I think next time we should talk about that, like
Yeah.
how we make our decisions, or like evaluate that. Are you just making a decision because of your
Yeah.
emotions, or you're doing it logically?
Right.
Right.
I think that's something we should touch again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Logical
absolutely.
decisions. All right. All right. Doc, what you got?
Okay, Rob, you still want to go last?
Sure. We'll just keep the rotation going. We don't want to break the chain of command.
Yeah, I did that intentionally because I wanna say as you go through this self-assessment and evaluate your decisions, good or bad or what have you, give yourself grace. You know, because it's not always easy. I like the phrase 2020, hindsight, right? When you're caught up in those emotions or whatever you're going through, you're not your best self. And so sometimes you can make decisions that are not necessarily best at that time. But when you evaluate, just take time, give yourself some grace. I used to do that, beat myself so much over the decisions that I already made and I can do nothing about it. The shoulda, coulda, woulda, being mad at myself. Why didn't I stand up for myself? Why didn't I do this?
Right.
There
You
you
know,
go. Logical
and- yeah.
or emotional.
Logical or emotional,
Like
right?
everything I thought about.
Right. So it's like give yourself grace, process that information. No need to shame yourself or beat yourself up. But you can work on, hey, next time I'm gonna try to be much more prepared. Should I face those kind of situations? Or I'm gonna make a conscious decision not to put myself in that situation. So I don't have to worry about those kind of things, whenever you can. But what resonated with me the most today is that good things happen to good people and bad things happen to everybody. So depending on what those good things are and bad things are, is like if you consciously choose to be a good person, your perspective is going to be positive. So you're more likely to experience a lot of positive things because it's your perception.
Right.
But if your integrity is compromised, what I mean is like sometimes we all know when we make decisions that are not necessarily good decisions, or choose to be a person that's not necessarily a good person. I know when I'm about to tell a lie. I can tell you I was supposed to do some paperwork yesterday and I completely forgot. And it dawned to me like, oh, let me call, my real estate agent and just say this. And I caught myself. I'm like, why do that? It's not true. Why don't you just say, I forgot, I'm sorry, but I got it done. Hopefully it did not inconvenience you.
Right.
And I made a conscious choice not to tell a story, because you don't want to disappoint everybody. But that's, that we, to a certain extent, we all do that. I'm just brutally
It's only
honest
fair to
with
give the other
myself.
person the opportunity to accept the truth,
Exactly.
the true truth.
Exactly.
Because
And it
if you
just
tell
makes
them
it
something
easier.
different, then you kind of didn't give them a choice in the matter at all. You didn't give them a fight.
Yeah, and ask yourself, what kind of person I am? Why is that my default to want to tell a story so that person doesn't see me as somebody who procrastinate or who just didn't keep their words?
There you go. Right
if
there,
I'm
yeah.
not, then why don't I work on me and
You work-
say,
then
hey,
you're responding emotionally.
exactly,
Not
so
logical.
People just don't want to perceive
yeah,
as
that's why
be
I,
perceived as weak, or so they keep it to themselves, or oh, I'm not gonna come to the show today because I'm hurt, neck and my hip hurting, I'm
right.
not gonna tell
Instead
you
of
that.
like, hey, I just don't want to invest my time that way today, and that's okay. People receive you much better when you're authentic self,
Yep.
and you're not afraid to tell the truth. Like if you don't want to come to the show today, instead of say, hey, my neck hurts to rub
But if that's
point
the
and all
truth,
of that.
But see,
If
some
that's
people,
the truth-
but these people that you have to deal with sometimes. Some people may perceive that as, oh, he being lazy, or he may just not want to do this today, so he made it an excuse, his neck, or really that person really might be in some serious pain and just want to be there too,
Right.
because he said he's going to be there and want to be a part of it, you know. But he maybe really is some doggone pain, so you should communication. That's where it goes back to communication is
And
key
honesty.
in any relationship.
They got
Honesty.
I just heard about this new thing. I was just listening
Uh-oh.
on YouTube. They got this hoof ointment.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You rub that right
I'm out the
in
hood. I'm about to get out the hood before I do something. It's hot in here.
Right. All right. So, all right, Jojo. So we got decisions, right? Emotional and logical decisions for your nuggets. Dr. Helm, we have you for good things happening to good people, bad things happening to everybody. Basically, honesty, right? Making doing the right thing.
Yeah, in a way.
Because
Yeah.
just because.
Perception,
Yeah,
right?
just-
If you're a positive person, you're more likely to perceive everything in a positive, lot of things in a positive light,
Okay.
you know. And if you are a negative person, and not by choice, by the way, but if you're in a state of mind that it's negative, you will find a lot of negative things. You're never going to run out of that. So it's very important to have that conscious choice to be, want to be positive.
Yeah.
So you will always realize positive things,
Gotcha.
while negative things happen to everybody, of course.
Like I heard that saying, misery loves company.
Right, and don't be that company, okay?
All right, Rob G. Ball is in your court.
All right, I got.
He gonna rap it to us
By the way,
tonight.
No, pretty much. You guys took the words right out of my mouth. I'm glad that you guys could take what I thought and put it into a nutshell for
Nice.
that nugget. Great job.
That is clever.
I know,
That was
right?
Trump, boss.
Nicely
talking
done,
about-
Mr. Green.
Sound like
Nicely
Trump, huh?
done.
No.
Nicely done,
Yeah,
Mr. Green.
he got an orange wig for real.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad I'm? No.
Okay.
Right, right.
All right.
No.
Great. All right. So we about 11 minutes over. So let's go ahead and close this out. And I just want to thank all of you for participating tonight. I think there were some great things shared. These nuggets that we have, especially when it comes down to decision making, right? Thinking about. I think really realizing whether you're making emotional choices or if you're really making logical, thought out choices. I think that's a
That's
good,
something we
really
should
good thing to.
Bring up next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And it
is-
applies to our family and our kids too.
Yeah.
The way we punish our kids or
In everyday
provide for
life,
our
yeah.
kids. Is
Yeah.
it emotional or is it logical? Are we providing the skill set that's going to help our children for their future?
Right.
Or we're doing it for emotional reasons right now?
Right.
Yeah.
No, so absolutely. So I think again, we came up with several core values that we talked about, or core principles last week. So let's go ahead and we're going to share those one more time for our audience, just so people have something to just consider. And Dr. Helm, I'll let you close out the show today because you have such an elegant voice.
I do hear that. People do. I get feedback all the time. She
Yeah.
sounds so. Yeah.
It's an accent thing. No, I'm kidding.
No,
No, I appreciate that. I don't know if I think everybody, it's really valuable things to share. I just happen to be a little bit more passionate and a little bit more mouthy. So I was telling my nephew last week. I said I'm gonna practice some shut up exercises.
Oh,
right? He's like, don't do that.
Shut up.
Okay.
He's a life
need more
coach.
practice.
No, you missed it. I was like, okay, that's a good exercise. But no, jokes aside, we think integrity is very important, and I see integrity as a tree, right? And everything else,
Branches
just branches
from
from that integrity, like love, loyalty, respect, responsibility, accountability, trustworthy, and knowledge with application.
All right. Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us this evening for another conversation under the hood. Today is our third episode, and I am very happy with the outcome, and I hope that you are too. We will see you next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and until then, Conversations Under the Hood, and we out. Peace, baby.
Where's that beat? Put our hoods on.
Oh yeah.
I wish that I got my hood on. Come on, Rob G. Where the music at? Where I got my hood on?
I can't see.
Oh no! Hey,
Yeah, I
you
think
fired, man. We
we-
gonna have to put him on the sideline.
Yeah, we got some good